Well, it looks like Giselle and Robyn are probably going to be the next housewives to leave the Real Housewives of the Potomac. I saw them on the 28th of May, and they said they were talking about how great their lives were going. Robyn was saying her hat business is taking off, and she sells out of hats as soon as she gets them in. And Giselle said she has split with her quote-unquote fiance, ex-husband, the person with whom she has had all of her children, who's a minister, Jamal. And she is now free, single, going to do what she wants to do. She says the reason that they made the final split is that it just wasn't going to work out because they were in different cities and it was impossible for them to make their relationship, living like that, work out. So she says that relationship with Minister Jamal is gone. Of course, he was getting dragged like crazy in the media because of his relationships. He was having sex with a lot of people in the church, a lot of the girls. I don't know about men. I know the girls. He was having a lot of sex and having children by other women. So I don't know how many half-brothers and sisters Giselle's children have. But he does have, I'm told, other children through other people who came to the church to worship. Now that was one of the reasons when I was growing older and had a child and tried to raise her through the church, I had to stop going because the guys hit on you so strongly and they're following you around and this is crazy. And I didn't want any of those guys. I just wanted to go to church to pray. But I felt like when you go into the church, you are part of the meet. You are available for the men that are there. And I think a lot of the men there know that women, like I was, and other women come there because they are struggling. They are single mothers. They are just getting started in their careers, or they do have employment problems, or other things. And so they're really there, and the men have the same thing. I mean, these guys, most of them, are not doing great. So when you go into these churches, you will find people, but they are not people that you really want to be with. These are people who hang around the church, who are meeting women constantly. Every year they're looking for the new meat in the church, and they are not really in stable relationships. And even if you're with them stably, more than likely in the future, they're going to have a wandering eye because that's what they're used to. And so that's why I left organized church attendance. I used to love to go. It was a little bit of a boost to my week, but I just couldn't take it. And then, of course, the other women in the church were always talking about the pastor's wife, and that just got crazy. I think the poor woman had trouble even coming into the church, and I saw her a couple of times standing outside of the church. That was my particular situation. But I just think there's more evil, more bad feelings, more negativity going on in some of those church congregations than really is, for me, it was tolerable. I just couldn't do it. So Giselle and Robyn were on the air, and they were talking about how they're doing great. Giselle's doing great in, I don't know exactly what Giselle does to earn money, but she is going in with a black podcast situation with Charlamagne he's on radio 105.1. He has been given a podcast station, and he is now enlisting people to be on the podcast station. And Giselle and Robyn have signed up to be on this podcast forum, and they're going to be doing things regularly. Well, the question is, how much can they say? You know, they're on this reality show, and then you're going to do a podcast. What are you going to talk about? I mean, you can't talk about the reality show because then people can listen to you and get first-hand knowledge, and who wants to be watching the reality show in the first place? So they said they have a conflict of interest with Bravo in doing the podcast because they can't reveal anything. They can't say anything about the characters. They can't say anything about the show or what's happening on the show or what will happen on the show or the real situations with various people. But they're going to talk about just themselves. Well, nobody is interested in hearing an hour. I don't know, if they do it a day or if they do it a week. No one wants to hear an hour a day of Gizelle and Robyn talking about themselves. They're not doing anything. Robyn is a housewife. She's a housewife that has lost her husband, and Robyn still claims she is going to marry Juan Dixon, but she's not going to do it till next year, 2022, because of COVID. She says it's because of COVID. She does not want a COVID wedding. It's been rumored that Juan has a girlfriend and has had a girlfriend for a while. I don't know if it's the same girlfriend or if he is in multiple relationships. I don't know anything about his situation. But it said that Juan is not really interested in marrying Robyn again. They had a past relationship where Robyn cheated on him and he went out and got girlfriends, and it was a mess. They had been together since they were, I guess, kids, maybe in high school, and Juan had a bad family problem, so he kind of adopted Robyn's family. So they grew up as boyfriend and girlfriend and kind of like brother and sister. They were both sharing the same mom and dad, Robyn genetically and Juan by adopting that family because he felt close to Robyn and he felt close to them. So he kind of got locked in because this was just a comfortable situation for him, and it was kind of awkward to me because it's like having sex with your sister. I don't think it's a good thing at all to have that kind of situation in your home. But they get married, they had children, they got wandering eyes and did wander out of the marriage, and now they have these kids, and they're not married. As far as I know, they're totally divorced. So what's going to happen? What are they going to do? Well, normally you would just get a divorce. She would raise the kids. He would have 50% custody. You see the kids half the time, and he would go off with his new relationship. But the story on Real Housewives of the Potomac is that they're supposed to get together. So Ron and Robyn are supposed to get back together and try to make a happy home and raise these two very nice-looking young boys. But, you know, that's a story. That's a fairy tale. That's a dream in Robyn's eyes. Robyn says she doesn't really date since the divorce because men are very possessive, and she doesn't. She says once you start dating, men really are hesitant to get back with you because you've been out with other men. Well, she's already been out with another man, at least once, because that's why, one of the reasons why the relationship broke up. But she says she has been wife-like to Juan, and Juan has not been husband-like to her. I mean, he is dating other people, but she does have this picture in her mind where everything's going to go great and they're going to get back and get married again. Robyn's a very beautiful lady, but she has matured, you know, and so you have to ask, well, does Juan really want this new mature Robyn, or is he looking for the girl he met when she was 19 and 20 and so forth, and they were in college, whatever? Is that the picture he has in his mind of the wife he wants to be with? Or does he want to have the mature Robyn who has 2 kids and who has this mixed up history with him? We don't really know, but because of Juan's hesitancy, we kind of think he's not real interested in going back with Robyn, and this whole charade for Real Housewives of Potomac is not going to end up in the way that Robyn wanted to. Gizelle, she too has this picture of going back with this minister with whom she had her children and making it a great family. And even her kids don't like this genetic father, theirs by Gizelle, and they're always very negative about being with him and about being photographed with him on Real Housewives of the Potomac. He did a crazy thing, a business deal, of course, and it was some way of sheltering money. He bought a full restaurant and bar and put it in, he says, the names of the kids. And the kids were supposed to come and walk around the bar, get familiar, because they were supposed to be, quote-unquote, running the bar in the future because it was, quote-unquote, theirs. That was one of the places where we really saw what was going on with Gizelle, her fake reconciliation with her husband, Jamal, and her relationship with her father. She loves her father so much that she really doesn't want to displease him, and he is a great-looking man. Her father is gorgeous, and that is part of the genetics that you see in Gizelle. She has a great-looking dad, but he left that restaurant and all the scam they were photographing and talking about. This was the kids' restaurant and bar. These kids are like, what, maybe high school, junior high. This is way too much for them to even think about, so this is all Jamal's. And you would have to look into the legal paperwork to find out how he really structured that restaurant deal as to whether or not the kids have any claim on that restaurant now or in the future. But Giselle's dad said, I'm filming for this show because it does put money in Giselle's pocket. She needs money. But even he couldn't stand it after a while. And he got up. He said he was finished filming. He got up and left the restaurant and said, just said it was ridiculous. And he was not going to have any more to do with this whole charade of this restaurant bar, Jamal, and claiming that it's the kids' restaurant and bar. So there we saw what's really going on with the Giselle-Jamal relationship, and it was a huge clue as to what was going to be seen in the future, and all of that panned out. Jamal never showed up. Jamal was always coming in for a short photography session for Real Housewives of the Potomac, and then he would cut out and claim he had to go back to his church. Well, what's he really going back to? The church, women, who knows what he's up to. And certainly Gizelle wouldn't know. And you wouldn't even want to be in a marriage like that. Who wants to be in a marriage where your husband is off in various states doing who knows what? And you're married to him. You are legally bound by whatever he's doing. So, and you don't know what he's doing because he's not honest. He's not telling you what he's doing. And he's a minister. A minister who's not honest, hey, red flag, stop it. So she played that for a while, but Karen was really getting on her about, where is Jamal? How come Jamal is never here? How come we only see him when you call him up and he gets on a video phone? What in the world is going on? This is a fake relationship. Why don't you just admit it and move on? It got so heated. Gizelle was getting so embarrassed that finally, now, today, Gizelle has admitted Jamal and her are done. She's free. She's single. She's not going to be keeping that storyline about trying to get back with him. And the kids can take a deep breath because they're going to not be embarrassed anymore by their mom always making them film with this father who's never there and who has girlfriends elsewhere and who knows what all he's doing. So from looking at what they talked about today, it's clear that Gizelle and Robyn are on the way out from the family of the Real Housewives of the Potomac. They have been a staple. We love to see them on the show, but their storylines are gone. Gizelle no longer has her husband's storyline, and neither does Robyn. Well, Robyn still is claiming she has her husband's storyline, but you can see she was claiming more and more independence as she tried to say how great her hat sales are going and that she just can't keep them in, and she's an independent businesswoman and so forth. So she's giving herself an out by saying she has money. She is working and has an income that can support her lifestyle, and making it look less and less like she needs one in order to live and have an income and take care of her kids. And then with the podcast being in total conflict with Bravo and what she's doing on the Bravo show, and what the heck are they going to talk about on this podcast? I think this podcast will be a flub. Now that some people in the past have left Bravo and gone on to do reviews of the Bravo shows that they weren't on, that come in the future after they leave. And those go all along for a while. You can keep those going by, your personal information about these people, what's happening, and so forth. But in the end, you just can't live on that. And Giselle's life is too boring, and Robyn's life is too boring, and there's not going to be anything for them to talk about on the podcast. And I don't think they have a social life that's going to get them out and in the mix with everybody. Now, they might develop that in the future, but currently they don't have that kind of social life that they can bring every week to a podcast, keep it going, and keep interest. Because there's so many podcasts out there. There are lots and lots of people, including me. I'm making this one, but I don't think Gizelle and Robyn have it, from what I can see, from what I've known of them from their stint on Real Housewives of the Potomac. I mean, they're even boring on their bit of the Real Housewives of the Potomac. And one of the main reasons I like to see Gizelle and Robyn is they look sophisticated when they dress up, sometimes the way they act. I like them visually probably a whole lot more than I like them just on audio. And I don't think they would have worked on audio. Podcast can be visual and audio, or it can be just audio. I assume they're going to go for the visual and the audio one, because that would make them at least visually pleasing to look at, and they can dress up every time and do little things that might pique our interest. So we'll see what they do, how the podcast works out. It's unfortunate that they have hooked up with Charlamagne. I call him the Graper because of his claims that he has raped people in the past by slipping them, I call it a Mickey, when they put something in a drink and make a girl incapacitated and then rape her. But it's unfortunate that they have hooked their star to Charlamagne the Graper, and we'll just have to see how all of that pans out. Especially because I don't think these two girls would have been highly susceptible to being raped when they were young. Because they're very nice looking. They were very sociable. They were probably at a lot of parties where drinks were flowing heavily. And it would have been very easily, especially in the past when people weren't as aware of rape by slipping things into people's drinks, they would have been highly susceptible to rape by multiple people and thrown in the street afterwards back in their day. And they may have had those experiences, and I would be interested. Well, they can't bring it out on Charlamagne's podcast because that's his issue. He's not going to want them to talk about rape and raping because that's his issue. And if they do, he might come on and start bragging again about his past rapes of women and children. But anyway, I digress. So for this podcast, the statement is Gizelle and Robyn are on their way up. Bye.